What is going on, everybody? Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Edward Ruffin, also known as PPC Ed, that is Pay-Per-Click Ed, Pay-Per-Click Edward, whatever you want to call me. I am the director of Seller Lab Services here at Seller Labs, of course. And today I am joined by AJ. AJ, you want to introduce yourself as well, man?
Heck yeah, thank you very much, Ed, and hello everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm just AJ. I don't have a cool alias. I'm not on that level as this guy here yet, but AJ Maiorana, with the sales team over here at Seller Labs. I'm actually the sales manager. I'm very excited. What did we talk about today, Ed? I believe it was how to inflation-proof your e-commerce business.
Yes, and this is a really good topic right now, especially with the way the economy is kind of going, what we're seeing inside of all the accounts that we work with too, because we do work with a large range of different types of clients and brands and accounts on Amazon. We have small brands, we have big brands, we have well-known brands, we have the sleeper brands, we can call them, the ones just getting up to speed. And we're going to go over a few things that we think are really important about kind of inflation proofing yourself. And one of the first things we do want to talk about is really staying ahead of your key metrics. Now, AJ, you and I, we talk to a lot of clients, we talk to a lot of sellers, we talk to a lot of great people out there. But really, why is it important to track data as you're moving forward? And of course, I can speak to this as well, but you usually talk to these people right at the beginning of the relationship. What is it that you tell them when it comes to tracking data and why they should do it?
Wow. All right. So this is a very great place to start. I'm excited to unbox this a little bit because tracking data is just so important on so many levels for your business and for a lot of different reasons that we're going to break down here. So I think first and foremost, one of them is to be able to get insights into your own online store's performance. If you're not keeping track of what you're doing, how can you know where you want to improve? How can you know how much you want to improve? I can't tell you the amount of businesses I'll talk to, Ed, that are like, yeah, I want to get more sales. And I'll say, all right, well, how many more sales and by when? Do you have these targets? And most of the times it opens up a really cool discussion about their business and things, but tracking that ahead of time is infinitely more beneficial to your business. You're able to just keep track of everything you're doing, and then you can have that plan for moving forward. I think it's
exactly
to track competitors too.
Yes, competitors are huge. I don't think there's one seller out there who just decides to sell a product and they're like, you know what, I'm just going to do this and just see what happens. That never really happens. They're always looking at the competitors to see how big the actual space is in the e-commerce platform, especially on Amazon, to see if there's actually room for someone such as themselves to step in and have opportunity. We have really preached this a long time here at Seller Labs, that you have to understand what's happening around you, what's happening adjacent to you, beside you, and really, is there room for you to really step in to that portion of the business and say, you know what, I want to have a slice of this pie. It is important to know, is there opportunity? But also, once you know there's opportunity, once you start getting some traffic and some sales coming from what you're doing on Amazon, especially, you want to understand your buyer persona. What type of person is buying your product? What type of people are even viewing your product? What are they searching for? And what are they looking for? So really, all this to be said down to a T, it's important to track your data because you want to understand what's happening. What's going on around you, what's working, what's not working, who's buying your products, who's avoiding your products, who's really stepping in on your territory, so to speak, as a competitor, so you can know how much opportunity there is moving forward. Does that really sum it up, you think, AJ?
Yeah, honestly, I think, you encapsulated that very well, man. It's just, moral of the story, I guess, with tracking, your data, tracking your metrics is you can't have a goal, you can't have a target if you don't know where you're at now. So tracking that is, getting that situation, that current situation, so that you can then identify those opportunities, those threats, your strengths and your weaknesses to move forward and improve, which is what we're all trying to do here in business and e-commerce. Now, moving forward on this, Ed, we're talking a lot about tracking metrics. What metrics should we track? There's so many. And that's another great question, another thing that I'm really excited to get to dive into here, because there are a lot of those. So, I'll pass that one over to you because you definitely talk a little bit more about that with the clients and
yes,
with them.
I am a nerd, as everybody knows. I love tracking data. I love diving into data, but it can be a little overwhelming sometimes
Yeah.
to, have someone ask you, so how's your business doing? And if you haven't been tracking this beforehand, you're kind of just like, there's my ride. I need to get out of here. Like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But of course, I'll be the first to say, I think it's very important to keep, in mind your advertising cost. This is something a lot of people definitely kind of forget about to a degree. Like, yes, it is money being spent, but a lot of times people don't realize at what magnitude they're really pushing their advertising, how
Mm,
much they're pushing it, how much money they're spending on a daily basis, monthly basis, yearly basis as well. So advertising cost is huge. But also with that, kind of the inverse is your average order value. And I think we'll actually talk about this more down the road in just a little bit. But with an average order value, you can kind of see what type of return are you getting back potentially from advertising or organic placements on Amazon. Because you do want to see that order value grow over time. If you sell a large, array of products and have different sizes, different colors, different quantities, or anything, you don't want people just to buy just one. You want to see them kind of bundling those together to a degree, exploring your brand more, and really seeing their trail throughout the e-commerce platform to understand they're seeing this product, but they're also viewing this product at the same time. They're buying them together, and then the cart size actually doubles to a degree. So that's very important too. And I'll go ahead and close this out with two more big ones.
okay.
The product margins, man. Like, yeah, it's cool if you sell stuff. I
Yeah.
mean, hey, AJ, you probably have so many people come to you saying, hey, man, I make like, $45 bajillion a year on Amazon.
Oh,
And you're probably like, yeah, but that's in revenue. Like, what's your actual take home after all of that?
yes.
And that is something AJ, myself, the rest of the team, we've really been focusing on is profitable advertising, especially when it comes to driving traffic through paid placement. You want to make sure you understand what your take home is after a sell, after all your fees, after all your advertising, everything. So you know what you're actually making that you can, in theory, pocket for yourself or reinvest back into your business, which is what a lot of people do. And AJ, the last one, conversions, man. Really, you can talk about sales all day, but it's conversion based. A lot of people do want to see how many conversions am I getting on a daily basis, how many orders are coming through, but also how many units are in those orders, like I talked about when it comes to the cart size, so to speak. So understanding what you're putting in, what you're getting out of it, but also what you're taking home is a great way to really word that.
Okay. Heck yeah. Yeah. That was awesome. Just to recap those four, I think we did advertising costs, we did average order value, right? And then product margins, that's a huge one. And then conversions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Those are
Exactly. That's it, man.
Yeah, can't tell you how excited I get when I, am able to talk to a new client and they have all of these, ready.
Oh man.
I'm just like,
Makes me so happy. I'm like, let's do this. Like,
yeah,
let's take over the world. Let's do this.
it's to our previous point, it helps you understand the situation you're in and then make those decisions to go further. If we look at our cost and our profit margins and conversions all together, that's how we're able to, inflation proof the business, right?
Yes, exactly. You have to understand what you're bringing home, what you're focusing on, what you're pushing before you can do any type of proactive or reactive response to inflation.
Absolutely.
It's very hard to, it's just like, diagnosing a symptom or something like that. You can't know how to fix it or how to prevent it in the future if you don't know what happened or what caused it to begin with. So this is why it's very important to understand your business, be a nerd, be a geek. It's okay. Most people that sell on Amazon, they're nerds, they're geeks. Believe me, I know. I've talked to quite a bit of them. AJ has too, but we love that. We love that. But yeah, so that's really important. Something else kind of rolling into that, then we'll move on to another topic as well. Really streamlining reports and making them more transparent.
I wanted to get into this because you said yourself that it can be overwhelming, all of these metrics.
Yes.
And that's like just the reality of it. So I think that streamlining that, making that as easy for you, low energy as possible. You want to be able to get to a point where you can digest, you have data that's digestible. You can look at it, make those decisions, and you don't have to, run a text to column and all these clicks every time just to read your own reports. So yeah, let's talk about that. I think the data management tools and different reporting tools are almost essential at this point in the game.
Exactly. And, I've been doing this for quite some time. I'm an old man in the terms of e-commerce. I can finally say that. I'll be signing up for AARP next week.
Oh,
but I will say, even the reporting that is being provided by Amazon has come a long way. And it takes a lot for me to say that, because it's not the most perfect, streamlined reporting necessarily. But I will say, kind of just leading up to better reporting, is one of the best things you can do to just understand what data is out there is, of course, looking at, tools that we offer, for instance, through Seller Labs Pro, that takes this information from Amazon and makes it easier to understand, easier to manage and manipulate to a degree as well. But no matter what, whether you're using Pro, you're going through Seller Central directly, downloading reports, looking at their confusing reports sometimes, you do want to take this one step at a time. I know a lot of people, just like AJ was saying, they do get overwhelmed because they start selling. There's not really many sales for a while. Once the sales start coming through, you have all this data. And Amazon doesn't necessarily make it easy where there's just one report that shows you how everything's going. No, they have about 45,000 reports that show you how each little individual section is going. So that being said, even if that's all that you have available at your fingertips, take it one step at a time. And what I actually do is, on one day, I'll look at this report and do a deep dive on that. Let's say it's just for the advertising report. This is actually converting, where I'm getting placement, things like that. The next day, I look at some of my business reports to see, what actual child ASINs are converting. And then the next day, I'll look at a pasting report. So
there we go.
What I do is I break it out over days, man, because AJ, I know, it's really funny. Even I've joined some calls with you, and the person we're talking to is so bright and so brilliant, and they understand their business, but they're just kind of in a analysis paralysis, pretty much, where they're just like, I don't know what's happening. What do I do? And we help especially with that by taking that off of their plate to make it easier for them to digest. But going back to my original point, don't try to do everything all at once, every day, all the time.
Yeah.
You got to breathe. You got to breathe, man. You got to.
Okay. I like that. So yeah, in terms of streamline, I think taking smaller, consistent pieces, taking smaller, consistent bites, you would say, is a much better tactic than, once every 2 weeks, losing your mind all night. The night projects do. Man,
yeah, it's like, cramming for a test or preparing for it over time, because it was announced 2 months ago, taking advantage of that.
As you said, of course, we do have, tools. There's a lot of them out there. Then Seller Labs is one of them that's, really, really good at pulling that data, storing it over time, so you can run those, year over year, month over month reports eventually. So yeah, that's very, very important. That's a good one. Encapsulating that entire staying ahead of your metrics. It's important, I think, to track specific metrics only at a small period over time, so you don't overwhelm yourself. And then it's ever so important to understand, where you are and where your business is at. So that's a great way to stay on top of things as we are getting into inflation's coming, and the world's getting very crazy time. So it's definitely some good advice to stay on top of that and put the work in now instead of regret later.
Yes, exactly. You have to be proactive.
Yes.
You don't always want to be 100% reactive to things like inflation and things that happen in the economy. You want to have already been studying this months beforehand and seeing, kind of a bell curve or a trend coming from your sales compared to last year before last as well. So you kind of understand what steps you have to take to improve efficiency and to improve profitability as well, without risking, velocity, so to speak, because velocity is one of the biggest things that Amazon looks for. They're looking for consistent sales, not these one days where you get no sales and a day where you get 5 sales. They want to see more consistent sales over time. So staying on top of that is huge.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like you said, so you can, have those steps, have those action plans ready for, when and if something like inflation really does start to impact you. And you mentioned something in there, Ed, I'd sort of like to, move on to dive a little deeper in. You mentioned, efficiency in your operations so that, you are streamlined, you do have that velocity. So I'd love to kind of talk. Why do you think it would be important to have, a shopping cart that is scalable, or like a robust shopping cart solution that's important to the business, so that you can increase that order value over time, especially in inflation.
Yeah, I mean, this is something to kind of take it a step back, like in the life cycle of a shopper and even a seller. Like,
Okay.
on both sides, a
So,
seller, yeah, a seller. Like, AJ, we've had clients that come to us and they have one product,
yeah, yeah,
but it's not their plan to just have that one product over time forever. Because the biggest thing is, same thing as a shopper. Like, can you imagine going to a store that just sells one thing, like a physical brick and mortar store? Then you have to go to another store to find another product that kind of does something similar, but it's like 2 blocks down the street. It's kind of that same mentality where every seller, to a degree, not necessarily wants to be a one-stop shop for every product on Amazon,
yeah,
but they do want to be a one-stop shop for that category per se, or for that line of products, where it does make sense to have someone in your virtual store, whether it's on Amazon or through like an Xcart platform as well, like a website, where they can go there and find, other products in one location. It helps out not only the seller, because they're getting these more robust shopping cart solutions and it's more of a one-stop shop, but also the ease of use for the shopper and the consumer. That person is going to want to come back to that same place. Like, oh, well, why would I search for all these products separately on these other, websites or on Amazon, where I can just go back to where I got it before and enjoy that and not have to worry about it. So I think that is important,
okay,
especially in proofing for inflation. If you just have one product, something happens with, let's say, like, the actual inventory, the supply chain gets messed up a little more, something like that, you're on thin ice. And
yeah.
it sucks. It does. But having more variety and more opportunity and options for shoppers in the e-commerce platform make you more resilient to things like that happening down the road.
So you hit a couple of things in there I would also like to dive a little deeper on. You mentioned, having a good experience for the customer. If you do have that, scalable shopping cart with your e-commerce business, that not only can help you improve order value, which we talked about earlier, likely help boost your profit margins if they're bundling several things with you, and reduce your shipping costs for that higher ticket. But I'd like to talk a little bit about forming a brand around that as well. How important do we think that is to, inflation proofing a business? Because if you've got the scalable shopping cart and you know about all of your metrics, I think the next thing in here is really that customer, engagement, that customer experience with you. So, I definitely have some thoughts about, a brand and building that brand loyalty and how much better that is to help you push sales. And I think one of those is, when talking to a business and, doing my pre-call research and, I'm going to meet with XYZ brand, and I go and look them up. And I love to hear the romantic about us story.
Yes.
Tell me about it. Did you come up with this in college? Are you and your wife scrapping it because, you want to give your kids a business? Or, is this you and your uncle, you guys love fishing and now you sell fishing hooks or whatever? But having a brand around something like that will help you to stick in the minds of the customers. Help your ads be a little bit stickier. It really helps everything that we talked about so far, but especially in times of inflation. If you have that customer loyalty, that engagement, because there's a cool story, a cool brand around this, people might forget about the price tag. And this is just part of their process to, if we stick with the shower and shampoo items, go get these refillables, right, from that brand.
Exactly.
So yeah, I think that's a huge way to improve your customer engagement. Even if you think the story is goofy or not worthy of putting on your Amazon, put it on there. It's something that people love to read, especially in the e-commerce world we're in. Like, I'm not alone. I know that might feel, but I'm not the only one that likes these about us stories and likes to really understand and see the feel of the brand really. So I'm curious, kind of your thoughts on brand loyalty and what that might do to help push sales for an e-commerce store.
Man, it's pretty bad because I am a brand snob. Personally, I love a strong brand that has an incredible message,
Yeah.
They have great thoughts behind their product. They think their product's out. They're consistent. And if you look at the history of what's happened in the past, like this may not be the best example, but like, something happens with the economy, people still want to buy the next iPhone. People still want to buy the next MacBook. They still want to buy the next iPad because Apple has developed such a brand that it is almost essential to have that. And people, as much as you may not think about this, I especially would be willing to spend $5 more on a toothbrush if I actually research the brand and look into it, and it's very apparent that they care about their product and they care about the environment, they care about their message and their mission. I will spend more for that to support them. And that's what's really cool, because when it comes to time of inflation, people do cut corners where they can. They do cut back on pricing, but there are going to be a lot of products that they continue to buy because they love the product, they love the brand, they don't care if they can get it cheaper. They had the greatest experience in the world with that brand, and they are brand loyal. I am so bad about this in the best way possible, I should say. I love supporting brands over and over and over again if they are consistent. So that goes back to making sure that the products that you're offering are high quality, or the highest quality that you can provide, nothing that will just break immediately, but also they're consistent. If you are in the midst of changing a vendor, do your research. Make sure you're finding out if the new version of the product is going to be just as good, if not better, because people will still come back to you to buy that product over and over and over again, or they will tell all their friends about your brand, and they will then want to support you as well. So it's actually what I love doing. Is I love helping brands grow to this point where they are more of an essential brand. They are not just there. People think of the product and then they automatically think of that brand in relation to it. So that's huge for me, and it's definitely huge in times of inflation or in times of any type of even supply chain economic issues. You still want to be able to navigate that with that brand loyalty as much as possible.
Absolutely. And I think neither of us are alone in this, the brands that it sticks in people's minds. So I think that work can be easily sort of pushed to the side. I need to, find this next product to add to the catalog here, or I need to get some new pictures, but focusing on that brand and staying consistent really, really goes a long way. That was awesome. And now I'm going to double down on something you said. You mentioned staying consistent and how important that is. And of course it is. I'm curious your thoughts on what the most effective or the main customer engagement channel would be. Would that be a Facebook, a LinkedIn, their own website, a mix of all of those, perhaps Google, but I'd love to talk about that. Where do you think the best area for that customer engagement is?
So, all of them, 100%. It is something where you don't want to have a different brand personality on Twitter and then have a whole different alter ego on Facebook. And have this other persona that you're doing on, that you want to have brand consistency. So it is still huge to have, great graphics, great designs, great content across all mediums, but it is going to be learning the demographic that you're getting as followers on each of those social platforms. Your Facebook audience may be a little older. You still want to have the same message, have the same branding, but maybe tailor your content more towards them. When it goes to Instagram, Twitter, you'll have a younger demographic most of the time. Think about that too. And also think about the consistency in posting. You may not want to post the same thing across all platforms. You may not want to post the same time every day across all different platforms. Understand where you're getting your engagement, test those waters especially, and see what works best for your brand. But even if Twitter is doing the most, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't have Facebook built out. You shouldn't have Instagram built out. You want to have all those different social media channels built out to make sure people can find you, stick with you. They want to follow you. They want to keep up to date with you. So make sure your content is strong as well. You don't want to have blasé content. You want to have something that's appealing and educational to a degree, but also fun and just shows off who you are as a brand. That just builds your brand loyalty even more, I believe.
That was awesome. Yeah, that was Yeah, there's no real, one winner in here. And I think you nailed it, man. It's like you gotta be present in all of these areas, because why would you not be? Most of these platforms are completely free to at least have your page on and post on consistently. That's just like, don't limit yourself, especially, under this topic of getting yourself ready for inflation. Don't limit yourself. Don't limit your market.
Yeah.
Don't limit, the areas where you're putting yourself out there. So I think that utilizing social media and, Twitter, LinkedIn are essential to maximizing your full potential. And this almost comes a little bit full circle here, because if you're active and consistent on social media and you're, what was that first thing we talked about? Keep it on top of your metrics, noticing who's converting. If you are running ads on these websites, what demographics are they converting with? Spending time in small chunks to digest this data will help you to run everything a whole lot better, and really, inflation proof your e-commerce business here by just focusing on small things, one really step at a time, building that loyalty and that personality about your business. And a quick tip I think I'd like to share here, I share with almost, any seller where it's appropriate, is if somebody's trying to, what's good to post, or how often should I post? Like, think of brands that you like and what you like about them. Like, remember that you yourself, you're a seller, but you're also a consumer. Like, just put the shopper goggles back on for a second. Look at your content, and would you want to engage with this? Would you like this post if you were reading it as somebody that purchases your products? And that's normally a real good way for people just to flip their mindset and go, oh, okay, for a second.
I will say, look at your competitors, man. Dive into your competitors, man. Like, I'm not saying copy them, not saying, be like a guerrilla warfare type guy about that and take all their content, make it yours or anything, but like, definitely look what they're doing, see how they're approaching the target market, and see what type of response they're getting. Just like researching a product on Amazon, you see what type of reviews they're getting. You can read the reviews and see what they're saying about it. Same thing on social media posts. See what their shoppers are saying about their product to learn how to make your product better over time as well. So there's a wealth of knowledge out there that you can all take advantage of. I know we have a little bit more time left, and we want to go through two more things really fast. One thing is prices and adjusting your prices. So really the big question is, how can someone who is selling online maintain their margins without hurting their profit that they're getting? And I'll be pretty brief about this. It's not like it's an easy answer or anything, but I do believe you don't want to just cut corners to cut corners.
Yes.
Still keep in mind your experience for your shopper. Keep in mind your placement. Keep in mind who's seeing it. Keep in mind how you look. But I do believe one of the biggest things that people do not understand when it comes to saving money and the steps of growing a product or a brand is the advertising. So many people will just throw money at something till it converts, and that's going to hurt your profit, because if you're just taking whatever money you're making off of a sale and throwing 4 times that back into your advertising campaigns, you're not going to have the type of return that you want to at the end of the day. Yeah. So I will say, as you said before, stay on top of your metrics, stay on top of your data, see what's working, see what's not working. If it's not working, cut back, reallocate that spend elsewhere, make a pie chart. See how much you're spending on advertising compared to what you're spending on packaging. You want to visualize it and see what's eating up the most of your money. If it does come down to it, you can always do slow incremental changes to your pricing of your products, but do that like very cautiously. Like don't just raise the price of like $10 because you're leaking money. Find out where the leak is first. See if you can change that, and then maybe we'll see. Oh, well, now I can just raise the price of my product by $1. This is gonna help me out over time. Just more incremental, because you have to think too. If I go inside a store, I buy a toothbrush, I buy all the time, whatever. I go back next time and it's $10 more, I'm not gonna buy it. If it's $1 more, yeah, I love this toothbrush. I love this brand. I'm loyal to them. I'm going to buy it. I'm going to pay the extra amount right there. So it all comes back full circle.
Yeah, that was That was excellent. Yeah, if you do everything we've talked about so far, and you have those incremental price increases, definitely after you've taken those steps to assess the business and keep track of what you're doing and where you're spending your money and where it's coming back. I think that's very important and definitely a huge way to inflation-proof the business.
So this one's good. AJ and I are great when looking for this one because we love we've probably snooped around a lot of y'all's websites just to see what you're doing. Really, it's creating a seamless customer experience. And once again, I said I'm a brand snob. I'm also a customer experience snob. If something is not easy to use, I complain internally. I'm not just going to submit a ticket and say, I don't like this. But it is really huge. You want to think about not only how your brand looks, how your products are, what quality you're presenting, but also, are they easy to buy? And this is so huge because on Amazon, they kind of have it taken care of. But if you're doing your own approach to an Xcart website or your own website especially, you want to make sure you have an easy search experience where people can find your product. They can go through your catalog. They can sort them. They can search for the exact same thing they searched last time. You want to make sure the checkout experience is fluid, because even in my youth, I learned once someone starts reaching for the wallet, they're ready to buy. But if anything happens in that meantime, they can be cut off completely. Make sure it's an easy checkout experience. And really just the actual software that you're using for your website, like I said, through Xcart especially, make it beautiful, make it easy to navigate. Know where you can contact people. You don't want to have to dig to find someone that you can talk to. So really, the easier the better, but you don't have to risk design to have that ease of use. You can still have it be beautiful and well presented. So I think it's huge. Don't get your head too caught up with just the quality of your brand, the quality of your products. Think about, is it easy for me to find that product? Yes. And even go through that website, poke holes in your own website and say, this needs to be fixed. This is terrible. I hate this. Be honest with yourself. That's fine.
Yeah. It's, again, put those consumer goggles back on.
Yeah, exactly.
If one of them is broken or it takes forever, that's important stuff. And especially in an inflation where people might be more conscious of, spending, if you're able to break through all of this noise of, the inflation and everything going on to get somebody to convert and get them to your checkout, just to have, something go wrong or something be difficult, or they can't, figure out any part of that process. It's almost heartbreaking to lose a customer at that point of the journey after you've worked so hard to get them there. Yeah.
I mean, really, it's just making sure you're taking care of your shoppers. You're taking care of your consumers. Treat them like you want to be treated. Don't make them work hard to just buy a product from you. Make it the easiest processes they've ever gone through in their life. And in return, they'll buy a product from you because they enjoy the presence. They enjoy the branding. Okay, there's inflation happening, but they need this product and they respect your brand and they've done the research. They've seen you on social media. They went to your website and they bought the product with ease. So I know that was a lot, everyone. This is what AJ and I do in our spare time. We just talk about lots of crazy things and nerd out together. Oh, yeah. But AJ, I do want to thank you very much for taking the time to speak with me today.
Thanks for having me. Thank you as well.
We're gonna be nerding out over here if you need anything, guys. So if you need anything,
we're gonna be
with Ruffin, and you got AJ on the boards. So we'll talk to you all soon, guys.
Yeah, thanks guys. Thank you very much. See ya.